I thought you all would like to know how all this was done. So we will show you individually. The first piece of equipment is a recorder. This is a second recorder that is used in conjunction with the camera recorder in order to copy film or to play film. Right now, this recorder is recording what we are doing at the present time. This piece of equipment that we use is what they call a video color processor. Now this has what we call a luminescence gain on here, which if you watch the screen you can see how I can brighten up the picture, or I can darken it down. Right now it's in the normal position. Okay, because it should be in the green portion of the scale here. The next one is a chroma gain, and this controls the color. As you can see, as I turn it, I get more reddish, and as I compound, it goes to black and white. So I can gain color by this. Right now it's in the intermediate position. The next is the phase chroma, which does the same thing. I can make it more purplish by turning it to the right, and I can come back and I can make it more greenish by turning it to the left. So the combination of the two, we can fairly well correct any coloring that has not been very good at the original. Piece of equipment that we use is what we call a special effects generator. Now this generator will create certain effects there. For instance, the one I use right now is the fade in and fade out. If I press this button on out, the picture will slowly fade out. If I press it again, it'll slowly fade back in again. The next one, we have the sweep up and down. See, I can create an up sweep or a down sweep by just doing this. And the next effect we have is sideways sweeps. I can sweep it sideways or out. The next one we have is the square effect, which will go down into a square approach. The next one we have is an enhancer. I can turn this dial, and as you see, I can enhance the picture, sharpen it up, and go beyond so it's not very visible at all. But we'll crank it down, and I'll put just a little bit of enhancing in there. Then we have what they call a negation noise amplifier, which corrects the signals too, but as you can see, if it goes too far, we get way out of whack here. So I'll just put that one down back to where it is. We also have a split screen. As you can see, we can show half the screen normal and half the screen being corrected. Either way. Now, we also have an elapsed time meter on here that we can set back to 0, and we can time our slides as we put them on, so each slide has the same amount of exposure time on the screen. I guess that's about all that we can do with the special effects generator. So we'll go on to the next piece. Video end of the part of producing a tape. The next part is the sound, and this has a lot of variations, a lot of things we can do with sound. We can put sound from the tape deck to the tape, or we can take sound off the tape and put it onto a cassette tape for playing in some other tape. Matter of fact, I can take sound from one tape and put it on to the next tape. Now this recorder is a dual deck. I can either record from one cassette to the next, or I can record from either cassette to the tape itself and superimpose, or I can eliminate sound and put on new sound, or I can change sound. We can do a lot of things with the sound. Equipment we have is what they call a mixing console. We can take tapes, or we can take a phonograph, or we can take various, even 3 microphones, and we can dub these all in and vary that they sound by just pushing these knobs up and down, and we can cause one sound to come in, the other sound to fade out, and by this one here it goes from one sound to the next and slowly fades out one and brings the other one into play. This is the master up here, which controls the amount of the volume of the sound. And we have 2 meters up here so we can keep the sound within bounds. Now all these pieces of equipment have to be interconnected. Somehow or other they have to be interconnected so they work the way they're supposed to work. Now on top here we have what they call an RF switcher, which takes the RF signals from the special effects or from either recorder and puts them on the TV screen, which you can see is over here. Now I'm monitoring this right now on the TV screen. Then the next one down is what we call the audio switcher, which we can switch the audio and have the special effects generator come into play, or we can have just the recorders come into play. The next one down is the video switcher, which does essentially the same thing, only with the video signal. The last one down is the color processor switcher, which puts the color processor in and out of service as we want it or need it, because we don't always use the color processor on direct copying of tape. The only time we use this primarily is when we are making up slides. The thing we can do is we can take 8mm movies, whether they be Super 8 or Standard 8, and transfer them through this device here onto a tape. We mount the camera on here. The camera is mounted here, and the projector projects the image onto this device here. We can also use this device for putting titles on. Here are the titles that you saw on the screen, which is made up of a scene and words. It also can be varied in other ways by putting pictures on there. The next portion of it, of this program, you will see how the results. So this concludes the education of how this is done. Photos and movies were made and had to be developed to be viewed on paper or projected onto a screen. Today, they are digitally put on microchips and transmitted by wire or microwave with no deterioration of quality when they are duplicated. Movies from a VHS tape have to be converted from an analog signal to a digital signal to be used by a computer. Now, I removed the analog equipment and the old computer and installed an analog to digital converter and produced movies with a new computer and simplified the installation.